So today, I wanted to talk about a conversation that we had the other day regarding Bandai Namco embracing Western DEI standards, because I got a couple comments in the comment section which I'm going to be referencing and talking over today that I don't think they're engaging with the conversation genuinely, or they're heavily misinformed, or they have been paying attention to the wrong people and focusing in on that as a reasons to say that people that are pointing out these new DEI standards or the aggressive push of DEI in games in 2024 are either right wing, or they're extremists, or they hate black people, which would in my case not really make sense since I'm half black, or they hate minorities. Again, doesn't really make any sense. You guys have met some of my family through the YouTube videos, like Eliana, for example, is Colombian, and my other sister-in-law is from Trinidad. My ex-girlfriends are from all over the gaff. So these talking points are ways to sort of like ignore the actual issues here. Now, with the whole DEI conversation, of course you get people that hijack the conversation. Of course you get people that see something, they're like, hey, I can kind of make my point here. I can cover myself under the veil of the anger that people have towards what's going on in our media and our games to spew some sort of hatred. Of course that could happen, but if you sit here and turn around to me and say that the minute someone brings up DEI, you already know that they're a right-wing grifter, I've got to believe that you're some sort of stupid, like there's something wrong with you, or you are playing for a side. Now, obviously, I am not a racist, and I don't think most of the people that are talking about this are racist. I don't hate my own people. Okay, for God's sake, let's be real for a second here. But it's very clear what's happening. So I'm going to break it down as best I can. There might be things that pop up into my head following that, but as I said, you guys can always find me in the comment section if you have something else that you want to talk to me about. Now, usually I just spitball when I do videos. I don't really script most things. I'll have bullet points here and there that I'll reference. But on this one, I wanted to read people's comments, write down some things about why I don't like this recent push of DEI, and try to dispel this notion that people are jumping on a bandwagon and that we always had DEI in games in the fashion that's being presented now, and people are just doing this for clicks and views. So the first thing that I want to touch on here is one of the common things that I've been getting in the comment section is they're saying, Mike, why are you so focused on DEI? Why are you not talking about corporate greed? Why are you not talking about the microtransactions, the bad practices, the layoffs, the rotating stores, poor game mechanics, things that make the games bad in terms of gameplay? And to those people, I'm not going to shit on you because I don't expect you to live on my channel. But I've already spoken about those things in length. All you got to do is go to my channel and have a quick look through the video section, and you will find videos of me discussing loads of different games and issues that I have with the mechanics and solutions that I've put forward. For the regulars that have been coming to my channel, obviously Mortal Kombat is a hot topic right now, again because of Chaos Reigns and the gender bending of Sector and Cyrax. You guys will know that originally, when I started talking about Mortal Kombat, when my channel started to gain some traction, it was about the gameplay mechanics. I broke down the mechanics, I broke down the business practices, I broke down the rotating store, I broke down all of the glitches and the issues that Mortal Kombat had, and then I made a series of videos offering solutions. I had Tom Brady on, I had Perfect Legend on, I spoke to Foxy, I spoke to Sikander, I had all of these people on my channel, and we spoke about Mortal Kombat so much that I cannot continue to regurgitate what I was saying then. If you haven't seen those videos and you're under the impression that I am just talking about DEI to get clicks and views, the reality of the situation is that Mortal Kombat came out some time ago now. It's coming up to like a year. And since October last year, I've been talking about the game mechanics and what the problems are with the game, but I can only talk about that so long. There are regulars that show up to my channel that expect my content to be different. They don't want to be seeing the same thing over and over again. Now, there are times where it feels like I'm beating a dead horse, but I feel like I need to make every single point. And I've made every single point that I can about the bad business practices from Warner Brothers, the bad business practices from NRS, the rotating store that we have in Mortal Kombat, the glitchy mess, the poor game mechanics, the abundance of guest characters, the poor balancing, the poor implementation of cameos, the story mode that had a wonky conclusion, the online that wasn't working properly, lack of crossplay. I've spoken about all of these things. So if you come into my comment section and you say to me, why are you not talking about this stuff? Why are you just focusing on DEI as if this is the only thing that makes the game bad? Or you're not acknowledging the fact that people are actually angry at Mortal Kombat 1, for example, I'm just using Mortal Kombat as an example, but you're not acknowledging the fact that they're angry about it because of the game mechanics, and it's just this DEI stuff that you're trying to grift for views. Like I said, there are regulars that show up to the channel. They have been listening to me talk about it in length, both in video format and on streams, and when they meet me in person. There isn't any more I can say on the game mechanics of that particular game. If I play a new game and it's got shit mechanics, I'm going to speak about it. I mean, when Tekken 8 came out, we spoke about the heat mechanic in length. There's only so much that I can speak about. People still comment on my videos saying, what are your thoughts on the heat mechanic? And I'll reply to them in the comment section, but I can't continuously make videos. If you want to get my take on the Mortal Kombat game mechanics, the bad business practices, the rollout of the game, the aggressive marketing that misled us, go and watch the videos. I can't keep on making them because you're not watching them. So just to cover that part first, this is not a focus in on DEI because that's going to get me clicks and views. It's a focus in on the topic at hand. Like what is everyone talking about right now? I spoke about the game mechanics when the game came out for about 6 to 7 months. There's nothing more to be said. Okay, so go watch the videos. I don't need to go into it again because you didn't pay attention. I'm not flaming you for it either because you don't live on my channel. You've got your own things to do. Sure, you've got responsibilities. But if you want those answers, they're already there. In the present moment, with Chaos Reigns on the horizon, they have not shown us any new gameplay mechanics, correct? All we've seen are characters, both guest and legacy. And so that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the story direction and the characters that have been shown. And so the reason that the DEI conversation comes up with Sector and Cyrax is not that I don't like gender-bent characters, because that's something I thought about and I spoke about in a previous video. I think I might have mentioned the fact that Nobunaga, right, a historical figure, is sometimes depicted as a woman. The reason that I don't get angry about Nobunaga being depicted as a woman, or Terry Bogard being depicted as a woman, or Trafalgar Law going through hormonal changes because of something that happened in the anime, is because there is no underlying message behind it. You might say in the comments, there's no set definition for what its implication brings. I think there's a very, very clear implication here. And I'll lay this out for you so that you understand. I don't care if there was a fighting game of 70% women and 30% men, or if there was a fighting game with gay characters. For example, Guilty Gear has gay characters, right? I think Guilty Gear is a fantastic game. I think it's really good. Now, I don't play it because I don't have that much time to divvy up between all the games, but I can acknowledge that Guilty Gear is a good game, right? It doesn't matter if there's gay people in it. It doesn't matter if there's an abundance of women in it. I know Bridget is now seen as a trans character. I know that's a hotly contested debate in the Guilty Gear community about pandering and whatnot. I'm not in the Guilty Gear community, so I can neither say it here nor there, and I don't really care either. It doesn't bother me that there is a trans character in the game. That's not the issue here. The issue is when you take something that's established. Cyrax and Sector are legacy characters. They are iconic characters. They are synonymous with the Mortal Kombat franchise. And you switch them out for women, we're going to look at you and be like, why did you do that? Nobody is going to have a problem with a cyber initiative that has more women in it. I think female ninjas are cool. I like female ninjas. You guys seen Hell's Paradise? I think the female ninja in that is very cool. There's loads of depictions of women in those roles that are cool. So I'd have no issue with women being there. The problem comes when you take established characters that everybody likes and you switch them out. And everybody's like, why would you do that? And then you look into people saying, oh, we need to aggressively push this. We need to scare our marketing department for more diversity. Let them know what happens if they don't push more diversity in these games.
Is team. Who is your team? A little background about this. I have a team of 21 right now for Validate. It's a pretty big team. It's a crazy big team for indie games. But who is your team? Validate has a team of mostly all people of color. We have no white people on our team. I did that because I wanted to create a safe environment. And I know the best way for an environment to be safe is to be around people who are just like me. And I'm not saying that white people in the industry are creating unsafe environments. I'm not, because they think that something made it okay, but it was really a microaggression. And no one wants to deal with that while they're trying to make a game that they love.
You've got whole teams like we've seen with Ubisoft or we've seen with some of these other developers where it's all women, and they're telling you on Discord and on Reddit, we don't like these gamers, we hate these chads, we hate the people that we are marketing the game towards. And then the game comes out and they have removed characters that are synonymous with the franchise. They are creating a game for people that are not there. They're creating a game to stroke their own ego. And so that is forced diversity. When you are putting something into a game that was never meant to be there in the first place, people are going to get pissed off about it. And nobody got pissed off when Bayonetta came out. Nobody gets pissed off at Tomb Raider. I like Tomb Raider. I prefer the older design, but I still like the new one's still kind of cool. I still kind of like her. I would rather they did the old one, but new one's all well and good. The women in the Uncharted games, no problem. I think the Nadine scene where she fucked up Nathan Drake and his brother was a bit overboard. I was like, I don't even know MMA fighters that can do something like that. Like, especially against people like Nathan Drake and his brother who are well versed in combat. That seemed a bit ridiculous, but it's neither here nor there. For the most part, the women in the Uncharted series, no issues whatsoever. I've seen people bringing up is Street Fighter DEI, is Tekken DEI, is One Piece DEI, and what you're not understanding, and I'm really sorry that I have to make this political now, but I'm not going to give my political take on this. I'm just going to make the distinction. DEI has become a buzzword. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's become a buzz phrase now. You hear it everywhere. The same way that you used to hear woke all the time, although you hear that less now. But if you break it down, there's something to be said about all of that. Now, on the topic of is Tekken DEI? No, it's not. Tekken is not DEI. Tekken has a diverse range of characters. Tekken has included people from all walks of life, and they speak their own language in the game. If anything, Tekken is probably the most diverse game that has ever been created. People are speaking their own language to people that don't even understand them, and everyone's communicating. It's as diverse as you can get. Okay, everybody's represented in it. Now, Tekken doesn't have a gay character, sure. Tekken doesn't have a trans character. I don't know if you would call Leo trans. I don't really know. But it doesn't have, like, LGBT representation. Now, if there was a gay character in Tekken, I wouldn't mind. There wouldn't be an issue. The issue would come if the Tekken DLC comes out and Heihachi Mishima, who we know is pimping, he's got like 23 children, right? 27 children all around the world. He's laid Mishima eggs everywhere. The issue would arise if Tekken dropped its DLC and Heihachi said, oh, you know, I was resurrected by my boyfriend. I'd be like, excuse me? What do you mean resurrected by my boyfriend? And then if I point out, they're going to go, oh, homophobe, some sort of ist. No, it's not that. If you create an original character and they're gay and they're trans and they're lesbian, nobody cares. No one cares. The problem comes when you tamper with things that are pre-existing. I don't want a gay Scorpion. I don't want a gay Sub-Zero. There can be a gay character in the game that is a ninja. Kung Jin was gay. I thought Kung Jin was cool. I couldn't give a fuck. Don't try to muddy the waters here. Now, in terms of the DEI banner, what I was trying to explain, it's the same thing with Black Lives Matter. Now, I want you to just stick with me for a second. I'm not giving a political take on Black Lives Matter, but Black Lives Matter is a registered organization. If you go on Google and you type in Black Lives Matter, you can find the organization. They can give you their whole spiel about what they're about. Now, the name itself, Black Lives Matter, if you say that you don't agree with Black Lives Matter, the name is very smart. Because when you say something like that, immediately people are going to go, what do you mean you don't agree with Black Lives Matter? Are you saying that my life don't matter? But the name, the organization, and the sentiment are two different things. So it's not a political take on Black Lives Matter. I'm not giving you my take on whether I'm for or against. That's a video for another day on another channel. What I'm saying is that the phrase DEI is getting thrown around a lot now. But when you say, is Tekken DEI or Street Fighter DEI, in the modern context, no, they're not. They're absolutely not. In the modern context, when people are saying that, is this DEI? What they're saying is, have they put representation above and beyond everything else that is more important than the game itself, than the gameplay mechanics, for example? If you take a game like Saints Row, let's say, for example, Saints Row had always had a very goofy theme, but there were typically masculine characters in the game. There were popular female characters in the game, but the latest version of Saints Row saw itself kill all of those characters off effectively and introduce these characters And everybody was like, who did you make this for? Now, it's not a slight against black people, against gay people, against trans people, but the implementation of those characters was misplaced. It was the wrong game, and it was proven so because the game didn't do very well. And a lot of the time when they do these things, these games don't do well. If you turn around to me and you say to me, this whole DEI thing is just fueled by racist right-wingers online, I'm going to look at it and be like, you think that majority of people that are playing games are racist right-wingers? And you might go, no. And I'll be like, well, what are you saying then? Because the games that we are critiquing, like Concord and Dustborn, go on Steam right now. As a matter of fact, let me just type it up while we're here. Thirty-three people are playing this game. Let me take a screenshot of that just so you guys know that I'm not lying. I'll put this shit on the screen. 33 people are playing Dustborn. 39 in the last 24 hours. How much is it? 76 is all-time peak. Let's take a look at, what's the other piece of shit called? Concord. 94 people playing in the last 13 minutes, okay? I could sit here all day. I could sit here all day. Oh, that new Star Wars game, you can't even look at the Steam charts. They didn't put it on Steam. I wonder why. I could sit here all day and go through game after game after game where gamers have said, we don't want this. We don't want this in our games. You can make games like this. I don't know where the audience is, because if the audience existed, where are they? Where are they? I mean, they've said that Concord mechanically is a good game, but no one's playing it. Why is no one playing it? Because there's no audience for the kinds of things they put in the game. The way the hero characters are designed are not very heroic. Nobody wants to play with them. So you can sit here and say, oh, it's right-wing people. They're always blah, blah, blah. What do you think? Every game is right-wing. There's no path of logic here. If there was 100,000 people playing that game, or 50,000, or 10,000 even, let's even 7,000, I'd say, guys, we might not like it, but there is an audience for this kind of game. It is what it is. But there is no audience. So you sitting there when people go, hey, who asked for that? And then you look through it and you're like, there's a lot of unnecessary representation or inclusion. This is a DEI push. You're gonna go, well, there's representation in Tekken. Yeah, well, why do people not have a problem with Tekken, but they have a problem with Concord? The representation in Tekken does not feel forced. They're not talking about real world politics. The story is centered around the Mishima fight, like it has always been. It's centered around martial arts. Nobody's talking about their struggles. It's like when you go and watch She-Hulk, right? You go and watch that, and the entire time she's just there whining about her struggles, whining about this, whining about that. And I'm like, okay, I'm checked out. Like, this is annoying. You're just there bitching about, you're saying stupid stuff about men. You're trying to be funny. We're saying to you, this is not funny. I saw Watch Mojo put up a post saying, oh, Deadpool was dancing. Everyone finds that funny, but nobody finds She-Hulk funny. Yeah, nobody finds She-Hulk funny. Why do you think it's been cancelled? It's not that there are right-wing people, like you want to characterize me as right-wing. It's that nobody likes it, because if there was an equal amount of people pushing back against it, saying, hey, these right-wing people, man, I don't know what they're on about, we liked it, the numbers would be there. It would be there for that Star Wars show, Acolyte. Acolyte's gone. She-Hulk's gone. Because the kind of representation they're putting in this, people don't like it from both sides of the aisle. Last time I checked, whenever there's like votes going on in the UK or the US, it's pretty split down the middle. And yet when you look at the conversations online around games and which games are doing very well, it's not split at all. This is not a right wing or a left wing issue. If you find yourself saying people that are saying DEI this and DEI that are just right wing grifters, you have likely been watching extreme right people on YouTube and your algorithm is full of them. And now when people talk about it genuinely and they try to say, hey, I don't need to see myself represented. I don't need to look like Spider-Man to resonate with the guy. You go right wing. So maybe fix your algorithm. Maybe start listening to people that are actually trying to convey a message. We spoke about One Piece. We spoke about JoJo's. One Piece has a lot of transgender characters in the anime. JoJo's has a lot of flamboyant guys, and I believe there's even a gay couple in there. JoJo's is one of the most popular animes both in the West and in Asia. And yet you don't hear people complain about this. As a matter of fact, can you guys see behind there? Let me zoom in for you. Let's get a little zoom in action going. Let's adjust this right. Can you guys see there? What does that look like to you? Does that look like JoJo's figurines? Does that look like JoJo's figurines to you? It's not about gay, black, lesbian, this, that I have to have a white guy as the hero. It's not about that. It's about how you do it. Have you seen Ghostbusters? Can you tell me why there was an all-female cast when there was already established male cast that everybody liked? For what reason? If you released Mean Girls and it was just dudes, I'd be like, what's going on here? Why? It doesn't make any sense. Like Atomic Blonde, right? If you replaced the actress in Atomic Blonde with Mark Wahlberg, I'd be like, or not even Mark Wahlberg, because he's a white guy, right? Let's just use a black guy. If you replaced Atomic Blonde with Denzel Washington, actually that sounds pretty funny. Just say random black guy. I would say Atomic Blonde is not a black guy. It's an atomic blonde white woman, right? If you replaced Lara Croft with a dude, I would say, yo, I don't care if the dude is black non-binary. I'd be like, yo, Lara Croft is a woman. We've always played Tomb Raider as a woman. Leave it as it is. I just went to watch Alien Romulus, right? And in Alien Romulus, I won't spoil it for you guys, but the main character is a white woman. And the supporting, I'd say the secondary character, there's a couple characters in this film, but the secondary character is a black guy. At no point did I sit there and go, oh my god, a lead female and a black dude. Because the film they weren't having these like little moments in the film to talk about, oh, men are toxic and, oh, you know, I've always struggled because I'm a woman. They were telling an alien film, and I was locked into the alien film. If they started making comments about all of that nonsense, about things that have nothing to do with aliens, I'm going to go, The Message. There it is again. But even films with The Message, not all of them are bad. Some of them are done in a way where I'm like, yeah, okay, they're poking fun at right-wing people, and they're poking fun at left-wing people. Case in point, the Barbie film. Now, I know a lot of people didn't like it. I liked it. I actually found it very funny. I think Ryan Gosling stole the show. But the themes in that film were clearly pointing, making fun of like rich white dudes that sit in their offices that think they know what the women want or what the little girls want. And to a lesser extent, what guys might want, if you were to translate that to video games or a game that is trying to tell a story about a culture they know nothing about. It was poking fun at that, but they were also poking fun at feminism and, you know, when push came to shove, some Barbies weren't really about that life. It was a good film. So there's nothing wrong with having women as the lead. There's nothing wrong with having trans characters. There was a trans character in the Barbie film. I was like, I don't care, man. I don't care. So when you talk about One Piece, yeah, right now is the biggest anime in the world. And in One Piece, they have trans characters. One of the best characters in the show is Bon Clay. Now, you might say, oh, comic relief. No. Bon Clay is as real as it gets. And if anybody has watched One Piece, I don't know if Bon Clay counts as trans, but he's gay. Ivankov counts as trans. But Bon Clay, one of the realest guys in the show, like, he'll bring a man to tears. You don't hear anyone, they're not angry about it. Because when you watch One Piece, they're not trying to push a real world message on you. They're not trying to convey something that people are suffering with in the real world, or they're not trying to force something down your throat. An example that I can give to you is when Bon Clay is in the show, he's focused in on the task at hand. Whatever's going on with Luffy or whatever's happening at like Impel Down, for example. He's not there talking about X, Y, and Z that pertains to real life to talk to the viewer, almost breaking the fourth wall. They're locked into the story, and so we're locked into the story with them. The problem with a lot of these games and a lot of these movies that come out is that they're almost talking to us. They're almost saying that they're talking to the viewer, saying, all you men are bad, and you're a bigot, and blah, 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 and all that nonsense. And let's not pretend like we haven't seen these things before. We've seen it in films all the time. I mean, even when they are comedies, they are talking to an audience, even if they're poking fun at both sides. I remember there was a Ryan Reynolds film, I think it was called Free Guy. And in that film, they were making digs at men and toxicity and that. And even though the film overall was pretty funny, it was pretty good, there's plenty of examples where those things happen. Or there's an example of a guy like in the Marvel films, right, in the more recent Thor films, where they've just turned Thor into an absolute fucking idiot who just does things that make no sense. There was one scene, it's really minor, but there's one scene in Thor that I'll never forget. There's a bunch of sick people in a room and people that are panicked, and Thor's in there going, okay guys, everything's going to be okay, blah, blah, blah. And he throws the hammer through the fucking ceiling and flies off, eviscerates the ceiling instead of walking out the door when there's people sitting there. And everything he does in the movie is stupid. And they make the female Thor, Natalie Portman's Thor, the intelligent one. And that is a theme that you see across Marvel. of the guys being stupid and the women kicking their ass or putting them in their place. And you watch it and you're like, oh, what is going on here? Why are all the guys so dumb? Loki was turned into an idiot. His female counterpart was the intelligent one. Thor was turned into an idiot. Bruce Banner he seemed lost. Like when I saw him in She-Hulk, I was like, bro, what are they doing to Bruce? Where's his stones? Doctor Strange in Multiverse of Madness made decisions that just did not make any sense to me. Then they had cameos that they just wasted. Like you had the smartest man in the world, Reed Richards, doing the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. Like it's a running theme, even in Mortal Kombat. They always they literally insert things from the real world, like, oh, make Outworld great again. So they make Shao Kahn Trump, basically. Or Shiva will make a reference to how women are the superior sex or whatever. And it's not done in a way that adds to the story. It's not done in a way where like, oh, I get why she's saying it. They just sort of drop it in there. And you're like, whatever, like I'm not gonna lose sleep over it, but it's there. So when you talk about Street Fighter, Tekken, One Piece, JoJo's, there's a difference between authentically telling a story that they've been telling this entire time and having people from different walks of life in a self-contained story, and then bringing out games where you are uglifying characters, where you are pushing messages, real-world messages, where you are insulting the player base, where you're telling the player base that they're nothing but a bunch of jocks, and you can see it reflected in the games, and then the games do badly. It has nothing to do with a white dude being a lead. I mean, I've used The Walking Dead as an example 100 fucking times. Lee is a black character, and from what I could tell, Clementine is mixed race. I think she's a bit like me. Did I play that game and go, man, they put a black guy as a lead in the apocalypse? No, nobody did that. So I don't know where this mentality came from. You need to understand that when things become buzzwords, it's not that people have an issue with diversity. Clearly not. Obviously not. I mean, I'm the product of diversity, for fuck's sake. It's not an issue that people have with inclusion, because like we've had discussions on this channel before where we want more women included in gaming. That's not to say we're going to bend the way we interact online for women. It's just that we want them to play with us. We talk shit to each other on the headset. You wanna sit on the headset with me? I'm gonna talk shit to you. You want me to treat you equally? I talk shit to my boys. You're one of the boys now. I'm gonna talk shit to you as well. That's all it is. Like, we want people to be included. And in terms of equity basically means fairness and justice. Basically, we don't all start from the same place, but we should all be given the opportunity to end up in the same place. Or if you don't start on equal footing, then you should be like sort of given a push forward. And in games, I don't really know where that sort of comes in. I guess they're talking about the developers. And look, the way I see it is that if I am hiring for people to develop a new game for me, I'm hiring the best people. That's it. I don't care if you're white. I don't care if you're black, trans, and in a wheelchair. It makes no difference to me. If you can make the best game, you're getting the job, and that's how it should be. Now, we have seen, especially because I've shown it on this channel, the Black Panther designer saying that they will not hire white people because they don't feel safe around them and they don't feel like they should be working on the team, and they wanted to make it for a safe environment. That doesn't sound very inclusive to me, and it doesn't feel like equality or equity as far as I'm concerned. If a white person is going for the job to make a Black Panther game, or they're going for the job to make let's say Bishop got a game from the X-Men. For those of you who are OG X-Men heads, you'll know Bishop's a black guy. Let's say he got a game, or Blade. There's no problem with a white guy working on that just because it's a black character, just because the game might be set in Wakanda, for example. There's no problem with that at all. What the problem would be is if the white guy didn't know X from Z, didn't know A from B. And that could be the same for a black person. So when we're talking about equity or inclusion or diversity, when it comes to hiring processes in video games, if there's been a situation where they don't hire black people, they don't hire Latin people, they don't hire Asian people, and they only hire white people, then yes, of course, there's a problem there. But there would also be a problem if you were exclusively hiring people of color to fill a diversity quota, which we know happens in businesses. That is not good. The best people for the job should be hired. Now, you could go into conversations about infrastructure in certain neighborhoods and people having access to certain resources. I don't have the answers for that. Obviously, it sucks when those things happen. I know that those things happen. I know that there are black neighborhoods that have not been given the resources necessary, and when there is funding, it goes to the wrong places. I'm not qualified to tell you this is what we need to do. What I can tell you though is that when a game is being developed, the best people for the job should be given the job. If they're black, they're black, and if they're white, if they're white, they're white. If they're female, no problem. I don't care if I have a whole room full of females. I've got a lot of girls in my family, and I would hire them over a lot of guys to do a job. They're very competent. That arcade cabinet I got over there, right, built by a woman. Built by a woman. A lot of the stuff that I do with the women in my life. There's not. I mean, I got my boys there, but I've got a lot of girls around me. I've got no problem with girls being included in stuff. And if I had to pick somebody to like build something for me in the house, I'd probably choose Ellie. She's very, very good at that stuff. I've got my boy over in Kent, but he's too far away. So all of this, like what this Black Panther producer did, where they didn't want to hire white people. That's not good. That's not a good thing. If you leave a comment in my comment section and you're under the impression that we don't think things can be bad because a white person made it or a white person starred in it, you are misinformed and you've completely missed the point of the argument. A film can be bad if a white person's directed, and a film can be bad if a white person starred in it. I don't know where you got that. Anyway, this one sentence in particular really made me laugh. The very notion that DEI is bad, whether you like it or not, inherently means that having a non-white dude automatically makes things worse. Are you high or something? What? Why would you say something like that? That's such a dumb thing to say. The very notion that DEI is bad, whether you like it or not, inherently means that having a non-white dude automatically makes things worse. Oh my god, my head hurts after that one. Where do I even begin with that nonsense? I don't even need to reference another skin color. It could be anyone in the role. I've literally just said that there are games and there are movies where women are the leads. The new Alien film and the old Alien film, right? Atomic Blonde, Mean Girls, Barbie. What else is there? I mean, admittedly, there's not a lot of great action films that are female-led. That is the way it is. But there's a lot of good action films that are male-led. I watched a film the other day. I believe it was Idris Elba, and there was just like this crazy tiger that was trying to take him out. And I was like, why would anybody else? If you ask me now, I'd be like, why would anybody else get this role over Idris Elba? He's fantastic for it. When I watched Fate of the Furious and Idris Elba was the main bad guy, I was like, yeah, this makes sense. I didn't get mad when The Rock was the main hero, right? Because he's half Samoan, half black. I didn't get angry when I see what's the guy from Tenet, man? I think he's Denzel Washington's son. No, he's not Denzel Washington's son. Or maybe he is, I don't know. His last name's Washington. I think his name's John David Washington, right? That guy's an amazing actor. If he's in a movie or if Denzel's in a movie, I'm going to go watch it. As a matter of fact, I am more likely to watch a film if you tell me Denzel's in it over anybody. Maybe not over Tom Cruise, because I'm a bit of a... I love Tom Cruise films, man. They're so good. Tom Cruise, Denzel Washington and Jackie Chan, you tell me they're in a film, I'm there. I'm going to watch it. But on the flip side, if you tell me Halle Berry's in a film, I'm probably going to go watch it. I think Halle Berry's a fantastic actor. I don't think she gets enough praise. I know Catwoman was a down moment in her career, but you tell me Halle Berry's in a film, I'm going to go and watch it. There's female actresses that, of course, the minute you hear their name, you're like, yeah, I'm going to go watch that. And it's not even a case of agreeing with their politics. There's a lot of actors in Hollywood where I don't agree with their politics, I don't agree with the things that they say, but you got Anne Hathaway, you got Meryl Streep, you got Kate Winslet, you got Jennifer Aniston, Angela Jolie, Natalie Portman, Jodie Foster, Scarlett Johansson. Like, these are all names where I'm like, oh, these are good actresses. I'll probably go and check out what they're doing. It's not to say every film is going to be good, but I think I watched a film with Scarlett Johansson where it was called Lucy and she had superpowers. It was good. I thought it was a good film. No issue whatsoever. So this whole, if it's not a white guy, then blah, blah, blah. No, I don't know where you got that from. Like, look at Captain America, for example. In the comics, people weren't happy when Captain America was replaced. It's not because Captain America was placed by a black guy. Anybody could have replaced Steve Rogers. People were not going to like it. Now, it just happened to be a black guy. But in the comics, the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, also becomes Captain America. And I also don't like that. There's a difference there, and you're not understanding it. If you take an established character, like in the Equalizer films, right? Denzel Washington is the main character, he's the killer. If you replace him with Tom Hardy, as amazing as Tom Hardy is, Tom Hardy's a fantastic actor, I'm going to go, no. This is a Denzel Washington role. So just to dispel that absolutely shambolic talking point that you seem to think that the very notion that DEI is bad, whether you like it or not, inherently means that having a non-white dude makes the movie, the TV show, or the game worse, that's just a flat out bullshit thing to say. This comment also says, games do not suck because you can pick a pronoun or make a intersex blue-haired Indian twink in a game. It sucks because companies suck. It sucks because companies do time crunch, don't pay their devs well enough, and don't actually care about the product they put out because all they care about are sales figures. For every game that sucks because of DEI, I can bring a game that was successful with DEI influence. Please do. Please comment in the comment section. Exactly what you said. For every game that sucks, show me one that doesn't. I'd actually love to see that. Now, there are games where things are inserted into them that will stand the test of time because the franchise is so big. For example, Spider-Man. If you want to talk about DEI, I guess in some sense, they put Mary Jane as a playable character in that game, and it sucks. It sucks. Playing as Mary Jane in Spider-Man 2 is awful. She should not have been a playable character, and I think almost everybody unanimously agrees about that. Now, that is, I guess, female representation in some sense. I guess that's female inclusion in some sense, but it sucked. It wasn't good. But Spider-Man will stand the test of time because it's Spider-Man. He was my childhood hero. Absolutely loved him. Now, in terms of what you said about pronouns and intersex blue-haired Indian twink, having them in the game, it doesn't mean the game is going to flop, but it certainly can contribute to it. If you release a game, let's say, for example, you take an established franchise that is known for having very stereotypically macho guys, right? Let's say like Gears of War. And then you put an intersex blue-haired Indian twink in the game, about a game with all of these jack dudes, that the game is about obligation and duty and loyalty and dying for your brothers and all this stuff. And then those are not only implementations in the game, but talking points that they have to point out that they're intersex or whatever. Yeah, that's going to hurt the game. Yeah. If that person in that game says, by the way, Marcus Phoenix, my pronouns are they, them. Yeah, that's going to hurt the game. It's not the audience for it. It's not. And you know what? If someone wants to test it over the people that make Gears of War, go ahead and do it and watch what happens. Like, you just don't seem to understand. There are times and places for these things. It would hurt the game if they did that in Tekken. Tekken is a very stereotypically macho game. The women are all like, they make them all very attractive, and they it's just, straight hands, right? Everyone's fighting. It's about devils. If they started talking about pronouns or mentioning pronouns, people would be like, what is going on here? Now, I know you'll bring up Leo, right? Leo has been a bit all over the place, but Harada already said that Leo was intentionally designed to just sort of like be ambiguous. I think more in recent times, they said that Leo's a boy. I think his dad called him a son in the story mode. But either way, it's not like in your face, and it doesn't overwhelm the story. The reason that people get angry at that stuff is when you take an established franchise and then you start putting that in the game. You're like, this isn't the audience for it. These are not the people for this particular messaging or this particular inclusion. Not all inclusion is going to be done well, and that is why when we bring up One Piece and we say, yeah, the trans characters are represented very well in that, it's not for comic relief purposes, because as we know, Ivankov is a major player in the game, and so are some of the other transgender characters or gay characters. And in JoJo's, the over flamboyant male characters, nobody bats an eye. But if you then go over to Dragon Ball, for example, and you have a new Saiyan, right? This savage race of warriors, all they know how to do, I guess, is fight and fuck. And then it's like, this is my boyfriend. They're going to be like, okay. We've never really harped on relationships in Dragon Ball. Obviously, Vegeta's with Bulma, Goku's with Chi-Chi, and Gohan is with Videl. But it's never really been at the forefront. Their wives have just sort of been there. But if they started making it about relationships and then introduced a gay character into Dragon Ball, yes, people are going to turn. They're gonna be like, But if you introduce a gay character and a gay relationship in JoJo's, nobody's gonna. You'd be fucking stupid to be like, huh? Why are they doing that? If you've watched JoJo's, because there's a time and place for certain things. So if you want to have a whole season of trans characters in JoJo's, I'll probably watch it and still enjoy it as much as I did the other seasons. There are times and places to do things, but you imbeciles that in the comment section saying, if you stand against DEI, then you're right wing. You don't understand context. So as I've said multiple times, diversity is a good thing. It's good to have characters from different walks of life. What's not good is when you take established characters, you throw them to the wind, and then you drop in some gender-bent stand-ins that are now in the canonical story, and the characters you grew up with are just, they're gone, basically. Then people are going to have a problem with it. But if you make a female Terry Bogard who is not canonical, if you make a female Nobunaga for an anime or a game just for that particular thing, and it's not done in a way where you're trying to rewrite history or completely throw the male versions out the window, no one's going to bat an eye. Nobody is going to bat an eye. So yes, there is a way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. And again, I want to go back to sales, because a lot of people like talking about right-wing this, right-wing that, right-wing this. And I've got to ask you, where are all the left-wing people then? If you're calling me right-wing, right, for the things that I'm saying on my channel about Tekken, about Black Myth, about Concord, where's all the left-wing people? I'll tell you where they are. They're playing the same games as me, because they also know this is dog shit. Now, I'm not even saying that I'm right-wing. You made that, some of you in the comment section made that assessment of me because I'm pushing back on certain things in DEI, but your comments are not consistent with my behaviors, because I play games with characters from diverse walks of life, and I watch movies with female leads, and I don't have a problem with it. So if a game is doing poorly and we cite the character designs and we're like, what the fuck is this? Or if a game is, if they do a self-insert, like in the new Star Wars Outlaw game, the main character is based on an actual woman, and then they uglify the character, you're going to be like, why did you uglify it? Because the common talking point was always, it's unrealistic to have these women in these games, and yet you look at Stellar Blade and you look at Star Wars Outlaw, and you see the actual women, and you're like, wait, they're gorgeous. These women are gorgeous. Like they look like they were carved by Zeus himself, and then they, not in Stellar Blade's case, but in Star Wars' case, they uglify the character. You're going to be like, well, you don't think that's worth bringing up? And I don't even know where that sits on the whole DEI spectrum. I don't even know. That's just stupid. The whole talking point for so long was like, these women don't really exist. These are unrealistic body standards. And then they get actual models to do the faces or the bodies of the character, and then they give them extra weight, or they mess with their jawlines or make their noses different. But this is a real woman that you're tampering with, so I don't really understand. Now, I do want to reference Mortal Kombat again, because you always get people coming into the comments section, they don't listen to what you're saying, so I'm going to say it again. Mortal Kombat 1 didn't suck initially because they turned Cyrax into a girl or because of the discourse around Tanya. Mortal Kombat 1 was received poorly initially because of gameplay mechanics, because of the conclusion of the story, because of the online not working, because of glitches, because of a rotating store, because of poor communication from NRS, amongst other things that, again, we have spoken about for 7 months, okay? If you want to pretend like people were not speaking about this stuff for ages, or maybe you just haven't seen, that is a you problem. The problem we have now is that they have made Cyrax a girl, and people don't like it. Now, do you honestly think, in your infinite wisdom, that it's just right-wing people? I mean, I'm even telling you that I'm not right-wing. And still people will say, nope, you're right-wing. You think that majority of gamers are right-wing? Is that what you think? Because majority of discourse around Cyrax, even from left-wing YouTubers, even from people that they haven't said they're left-wing, but you can kind of tell based on the things that they're talking about, or at the very least they're going to be center, and they give more fair takes. Even they are saying, we don't like it. There's people that I disagree with on this platform, okay? You guys all know who they are. Even them I agree with. I'm like, nobody likes this. And you know what? I saw the whole discourse with Fate, and I saw the whole discourse with Total MK. And Total MK did himself no favors with the way he framed it. And I mean, if it wasn't rage bait, it was fucking stupid. Him shouting African American, that itself, saying African American when you see Cyrax, already sort of disqualifies you from the conversation. But I saw the whole Fate discourse, and you guys know, maybe some of you don't, me and Fate don't like each other. But every single black person that saw the Mortal Kombat reveal trailer with me, they saw it and they were like, kind of feels like Wakanda. They're all black, I'm half black, we all said the same thing.
What do you think about that voice?
I mean, the voice is like just funny. It's giving like Wakanda forever.
There's a lot of things that we could call Fate. There's a lot of names you can call Fate, 100%. But I'm not gonna sit here and pretend like I didn't think the same. I did think it. I saw I saw Cyrax, I saw Sector, I saw the Havocs all around the stadium. I was like, this looks a bit like the MCU. And when you start thinking to yourself, oh, this looks like the MCU, and then she's in like a robotic suit, and we know that the Black Panther suit, whilst it's not robotic, it functions in a very weird way where you can like sort of remove the mask like that and whatever. It looks kind of like Ironheart as well. There's some crossover there, especially when you watch the Black Panther follow. I think Black Panther 2. There's clearly some inspiration there. So you're not racist to think that she looks like that they designed this after Wakanda. You're not, and I also don't care if anybody disagrees with me on that. That is the first thing that came to my mind. Do I hate my own people? Of course not. Wakanda, as far as I'm aware, was filmed in one of my countries. So that whole talking point was absolutely ridiculous to me. But it's a fair thing to bring up when you're talking about the future of Mortal Kombat. We've already spoken about the dog shit that the game is, and we've spoken about the mechanics, but where is the game going? What are they showing us? They're showing us new characters, and we don't like them. You want us to talk about the same thing for all time. This is what has been presented now, and that is what we're talking about. And just to be clear, it's not that gender bending doesn't work. I've mentioned that before. It's not that race swapping doesn't work, because they've race swapped characters before. You guys have seen the Marvel films. We talk about them all the time. Nick Fury was a white guy, was he not? They changed Nick Fury to a black guy because of the popularity of the portrayal of Samuel L. Jackson's version of Nick Fury. Now, Nick Fury has always been an important character in the comics, but he's not been the most popular character. And so with characters like that, you can take liberties. You can take liberties with characters like that. You can take liberties with characters like Catwoman. That's why we had a Halle Berry portrayal. That's why the most recent girl, I can't remember her name, I don't think she's white. I think her name is Zoe Kravitz. She looks mixed race to me. I'm not entirely sure. Maybe I should look up where she's from. Oh, so she's half African, half Jewish. Ashkenazi Jewish? I don't know what that is. But anyway, she's half black. You can take liberties with characters that are not that popular with the audiences. What you can't do is you can't take liberties with characters that people that people are attached to. Like, for example, Goku. Now, in the video I did previously, someone misinterpreted what I was saying as that I'm worried that they're going to make Goku black. First of all, I don't know how that was misinterpreted, but maybe I misspoke, so my bad. I'll just take responsibility for that. But I'm not worried that they're going to make Goku black. But people would be a bit pissed if Goku suddenly became a black man. Right? People would be like, why? Who did this? I mean, I guess it would be funny because of Frieza and the whole monkey thing, but people would say, yo, why have you done this? And then someone might say, oh, Dragon Ball's not going to fail because they've changed Goku and Vegeta from like white Saiyans to black Saiyans. I'd be like, are you sure about that? Are you positive? You don't take characters that people love, like Kal-El, right, Superman, and you change them to black. There was a conversation for a while that Michael B. Jordan was going to portray Kal-El. Now, there are Elseworld versions of Superman with different names. There is a black Superman, which there's a black Superman, portray that one. Why would you turn Kal-El into a black man? It's like if you took T'Challa and you had Woody Harrelson portray him, you'd be like, we got a problem here. But yes, gender bending and race swapping can work. Captain Marvel has been gender swapped loads of times. It can work. In this instance, it did not work. People don't like the Cyrax change. The majority of people think it's stupid. You can have female cyborgs. They don't need to take the sloppy seconds of pre-existing characters. So there was diversity and inclusion, as there has always been in games way back in the day, and there is an aggressive push to remove masculinity from video games. As we have seen, there's been loads of videos done on games that came out in the 2000s versus the games that we have now, and games are not doing that hot right now. There are some games where they get it and they're like, the developers are like, right, we understand the audience, we know what they want, they're going to buy this game, and that's exactly what people have done. But there's a lot of developers who seem to think that removing masculinity from games and putting these other things in place of it is going to do well, and it just doesn't do well, because most gamers are not really into that stuff. The naming convention is very smart, because to the uninitiated, they will see it and they'll be like, oh, so what you're saying is that you're not really a fan of people from different walks of life being included. And it's, again, this is why I spoke about the Black Lives Matter thing. If you have a disagreement with the organization and you say, I don't agree with Black Lives Matter, you got a fight on your hands now because of the wording of it. Saying I disagree with Black Lives Matter is obviously going to make people go, what do you mean? Because the wording's very smart, but there's a difference between the organization and the sentiment, and there's a difference between diversity and inclusion that we've always had in games and DEI and the push of it now. I mean, they had whole panels, right? We did the whole Bandai thing where it's dedicated to DEI. Where have you ever seen that before? Where have you seen that? And we that play Japanese games have always said there's no problem with representation in Japanese games for females and for males. There never has been. And yet somehow, now they're having whole presentations about it. Now we've got people coming up at, I think it's called GDCC, saying we need to aggressively push this. Why? To who? Nobody buys these fucking games. I saw another comment saying, the problem with the anti-DEI crowd is that you literally don't even know what that is. And that's a funny comment because that would be everyone. Whenever we say, oh, this game has got like a heavy dose of DEI or Sweet Baby Ink touch to it, what happens to those games? They don't do very well. They don't stand the test of time. Player retention is exceedingly low. It's like we spoke about Mortal Kombat. I mean, we can bring up Concord and Dustborn. Like, literally, there's nobody playing them right now. Last I checked, it was like 80 people for one of them. But Mortal Kombat, right, has got very poor player retention. It's got pretty good sales, right? Not as good as it used to be, but pretty good sales. But player retention is low. And so do you think that people are like, they're watching where the game is going, and they're like, I'm not coming back for that? How many people do you think are fans of Sector and Cyrax and saw Sector and Cyrax and they were like, yeah, not for me? I can tell you right now that there's certain characters where if you gender bend them, and they're all my favorite characters, I'm not going to play them. That's not my guy. That's not my Jinpachi. I don't know who she is. That ain't Jinpachi. I'm not playing. I'm not coming back. That's not my noob cyborg. Bihan is my noob cyborg. I ain't coming back. So it's not that people don't know what it is. It's that you are mistaken. You seem to think... Who's calling while I'm making a video? You seem to think that because someone might say that Cyrax is not a good implementation, that they have a problem with black people, and not acknowledging the fact that A, Cyrax was always black, but B, that this was a pre-existing character, and that's it. A few months ago, Twitter went crazy calling a black pilot a DEI hire, and said they wouldn't fly on a plane with a black person piloting it. I don't know about that, but let me put it to you like this. Okay, Twitter's a cesspool. People say dumb shit on there all the time. If a black pilot has gone through all the necessary testing the same way that everybody else does, and they qualified to fly the plane, nobody's gonna have a problem with that. Nobody. Don't go to Twitter for your answers, okay? I know we make videos in here about them, but in general, people on Twitter say very unhinged things. You're not going to have a problem with it. I'm not going to have a problem with it. The problem would occur if the airline was saying we need to fill a quota, so we need to hire a black pilot. Now, they might find a black pilot that's good. No problem. Whatever. But if they can't find a black pilot that's up to standard and they need to hire one to fit a quota, I'm not getting on that plane. And I'm not going to get on the plane, because I don't know the ins and outs of what goes on there. But if I hear that you're hiring to fill a quota and you're flying me 50,000 miles in the air, I don't know what test this person has gone through. So I'm not getting on the plane. It's nothing to do with black, white, trans. I don't care if the person flying me is trans. I couldn't care less. I want you to get me from London to Japan. I don't want to know your name. I don't want to know what you do in your private life. I don't want to know about your feelings. None of that. Do your job. I'll go my own way. That's it. And that's the same what we talk about when it comes to video games. I don't care if a trans person makes a fighting game. Couldn't give a fuck. I wouldn't be surprised if trans people worked on Guilty Gear and Mortal Kombat. My problem would be is if they're not creating a good game. Then I'd be like, okay, well, let's look into this. Why was this person hired? And then if you say to me they were hired because they're trans and not because they're making a good game, then I'm going to be like, okay, well, go fuck your game then. I don't want to play it. So I don't know if what you're saying is true though. I don't know about that story. If people are literally being racist, then of course there's a problem there. But I highly, highly doubt it. What it sounds like to me is what businesses are doing now. And they're saying, we need to fill a quota. You need to find these people. Which tells me that they're going to overlook some shortcomings to fill that quota. Which is not good enough. Not good enough for me anyway. Especially if you've got me 50,000 miles in the air. Okay, I quite like my life. Calling people racist, sexist, ableist because they can clearly see that there's a push to remove what has been and what has worked in place of things that are clearly not working is ridiculous to me. But you know what? I always say, if the game does well, then we are wrong and there is a market there for it. There's a market there for it. But there isn't. Every single time they do this, the games fail. They only ever survive if they have latched themselves onto a big franchise like God of War or Spider-Man. Suicide Squad didn't survive. And it wasn't just because of diversity in Suicide Squad. The story was shit as well. Dog shit. What a disrespectful way to bring the Arkham Batman to an end. So yeah, the game deserved to fail because the story was written by idiots, and when I did actually get around to playing it, I was like, this isn't that fun. Now that's subjective obviously, but clearly most people didn't think it was that fun either because the game cost Warner Brothers an arm and a leg and they are paying for it now. As I said, if I'm wrong, the proof is in the wallet. The proof is in the wallet. So I'm right. Okay, Black Myth Wukong, we were all right about that. Do you really think here that people went out to buy Black Myth Wukong just to spite these developers and then sit there playing it for hours? No, what would have happened is there would have been people that went out to buy it to spite them, 100%. But do you think they're going to spend hours playing it as well when nobody's looking? Absolutely not. That is why the game is still booming. As of right now, 1.5 million people are playing it on Steam, a single player game. And when it launched initially, that shit was hitting upwards of 3 million. Do you know how fucking insane that is? Only PUBG, a multiplayer game, has been able to beat it. But these people online want to be like, oh, you spend your money just to spite these people? Maybe some people did, but people are not spending their time to play a game they don't like. If you think that, you're stupid. Also in this comment it says it has nothing to do with the blue-haired, asexual, trans, masculine, disabled person that goes by they, them pronouns. And that could be true, but it could also be the flip side. If I've got a particular type of person developing a game for me and they're not really tuned in to the kinds of games that I like playing, right? The Devil May Cry's, the Gears of Wars, the Helldivers, the Tekkens, where you've got typically masculine themes in them, and the next version comes out and the game doesn't have that theme and it's changed it up and they're saying, oh, we wanted to change it up for modern audiences. That's the fucking buzzword you hear all the time. Then I'm going to be like, yeah, the blue-haired asexual trans person probably did have something to do with this. Now that blue-haired trans individual could make an awesome game that plays exactly the way I want it to, and it's got all of the masculine themes that I knew and loved about said franchise, and I'll shake their hand. Thank you for providing me with a good product. But I think it's very fair to look at the person, look at the product and be like, there's clearly a link here. So I've been over this in length and I don't want to make this video too much longer. This video is already stupidly long. But if you have not been paying to the discourse of these games and you haven't been paying close attention to the fact that people do speak about the mechanics and they do talk about corporate greed, but we can only speak about that for so long, and you're not paying attention to the fact that new DLCs coming out or new games have dropped and this is the conversation now, I don't know what to tell you. I do not know what to tell you. You can call it dog whistling all you want. I can't repeat myself for another 7 months. We all know about the mechanics of these games. It's like Concord. A lot of people have said it's your run-of-the-mill hero shooter. You know, it plays like a hero shooter. It plays well. But the game did horribly, even though it was in the oven for 8 years. Why? Because the person that developed it was more interested in making these weird, unheroic character designs and adding pronouns to the game. If I was wrong, people would be playing it, but they're not, okay? More people are playing games that came out 10 years ago than a game that's been in the oven for 8 years and has cost Sony millions. You'll say to me, oh, it's you right-wing people. Well, I guess the whole gaming landscape is right-wing then. I guess everybody's right-wing. I guess everybody has some ableist views or some sort of ist or phobe views. What the problem is that your algorithm is so fucked up that you've been watching people like Nick Fuentes or whatever, and they've been saying things, or Fresh and Fit or whoever it might be, and they've been saying extreme things, and then you come over here, you hear me say DEI and you're like, oh, it's a black Nick Fuentes. Like, fix your algorithm, Listen to what people are saying. Understand why people don't have an issue with Lara Croft, but they might have an issue with a game that has a woman that has replaced a man. Listen to the fact that we've never had a problem with black people in games. Obviously, why would I have a problem with black people in games or in media? Love the Blade films. Was very happy to see Blade make his return recently. But if you remove a character that's been established, like if they bring out a new Forrest Gump film, right, and Forrest Gump is being portrayed by Samuel L. Jackson, I'll probably laugh. I probably would watch that. But you'd be like, but Forrest Gump was a white dude. And then someone would be like, this seems like maybe a forced DEI thing. And then you'll be like, oh, look at this ist. If you don't know what DEI is, I can't help you. And I'm sorry if this has come across disrespectful, but it's really just baffling to me that you get people that make out like it's right-wing extremism and then not also acknowledge that maybe there's some left-wing denial. Now, people have called me a fence sitter multiple times. Mighty Keith and his fans called me a fence sitter, right? But the thing about being a fence sitter, and it's what Asmongold said, and Asmongold said it best, is that when you sit on the fence in these sort of conversations, you actually get hit by both sides of the traffic. It would be better for me to just lean into one and talk to that base in that manner. But as you have seen, if you've been paying attention to this channel, and it's things I've gotten wrong before, I initially believed that Yasuke was the Black Samurai. I thought he was the first Black Samurai in Japan. I got that information wrong. I came on here, I apologized. I said, hey, listen, Japan, I got that wrong. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. They did. Nothing wrong with saying sorry about that. But the initial video that I made, I had people in there going, you're a left-wing grifter, Mike, I'm unsubscribing, blah, blah, blah. I don't give a fuck if people do that. I am going to talk about things that I believe to be true. Left and right be damned. I couldn't give less of a shit. You can call me offensive all you want, or you can call me left-wing, or you can call me right-wing. You can say that I'm jumping on a DEI bandwagon. You can pretend like we don't talk about corporate greed, like we didn't do that for... How many videos have I got on this channel? Almost 1,000. Like we haven't been speaking about that in length for ages. This is where the conversation is now. There's a very clear reason why people are talking about it. There's a very clear reason why bullshit like Ghostbusters did poorly at the movies, why something like Captain Marvel was poorly received. It's not because women are in it. We ain't got a problem with women. I like women. It's how they do it. It is how they do it. There's a universe where She-Hulk was good, where the writers did a good job, but we don't live in that universe. Now, if you want an example of a good Marvel show that was pretty much female-led, WandaVision. WandaVision was I really enjoyed that. Didn't have an issue with it at all. But the Marvels was shit. Ghostbusters was shit. It is what it is. I don't know what to tell you guys. You can pick and you can choose and you can talk about extremists, and I could talk about left-wing extremists. I could talk about people that rage bait. By the end of the day, you're pulling arguments to make your point instead of looking at why people are annoyed at this. Looking at the fact that there are people of color saying, hey, I don't like this. I don't need this. I don't want this. Now, yeah, there's some people that want to be represented on screen. Go ahead and make those games, but don't replace my established characters and then expect me to not say, hey, Superman ain't a black man. I know he's an alien, but he's not a black man. Like, he's not black presenting. Hey, T'Challa's not a white dude. You know, if T'Challa's portrayed by a South African, I'm pretty sure people are going to get pissed off by that. People don't like that stuff. But again, if it's a less known character, if it's a character people don't care about as much, like Nick Fury, or Amanda, whatever her name is, the woman that gives the Justice League and the Suicide Squad their tasks, people ain't going to care. Make her fat, make her black, make her white, make her trans, whatever. I don't give a fuck about that character. But Harley Quinn, for example, if the new Harley Quinn was trans, I'd be like, you couldn't just make her an original character. People really like getting second-hand characters. Anyway, that's my rant for now. If you still don't understand, we'll talk about it in the comment section below. If you want to pretend like everybody's a right-wing grifter, I guess I'll entertain your conversations, but there's not much more I can really say on that. Have a good day, guys. Take care and peace.